Thank you. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Council's meeting on Tuesday, the 16th of March, 2021. My name is Bill Lewis, Mayor of Rugby, and I am the chairman of this meeting. The meeting is being web streamed to the public and is being attended by members through Microsoft Teams. Before we begin working through the agenda, I will go through some rules on procedure. Can we all make sure we switch off our cameras, please? The web streaming of this meeting is being monitored by IT services. If at any point there are any streaming issues, then I will be informed and the meeting will be adjourned until such time as the technological issues can be resolved. Councillor Shearer, could I ask you to switch off your camera, please? If during the course of the meeting any member is having connection issues, then there will be a short adjournment of up to 5 minutes to determine whether the connection issues can be resolved. If following the adjournment, the connection issues cannot be resolved, then providing the meeting remains quorate, it will continue. It will be deemed that the member with the connection issues has left the meeting and will no longer be able to participate. If a member wishes to leave the meeting for any other reason, they should indicate they wish to do so by indicating they wish to speak and informing the chairman when they are given leave to do so. For all attendees, if you have not already done so, please would you switch off your microphones and cameras now. For members, your microphones and cameras should be switched off unless you have been given leave to speak. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please use the raise hand function and wait for me to ask you to speak. The voting during virtual meetings will use the raise hand function. The Democratic Services Officer will confirm the vote. Are there any questions before we move into the formal agenda? I don't see any raised hands, so we carry on. I will now ask our Democratic Services Officer to confirm the attendees at this meeting. This will be for council members only. When your name is called out, please confirm your attendance verbally by saying present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Mrs. Alanak.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Barrow.
Present.
Councillor Byrne.
Present.
Councillor Brader.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Bragg.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Brown.
Present.
Councillor Kieran Brown.
Present.
Councillor Bucklin.
Present.
Councillor Cade.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Crane.
Present.
Councillor Cranham. Councillor Douglas.
Present.
Councillor Miss Dumbleton.
Present.
Councillor Eccleston. Councillor Ellis.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Garcia.
Present.
Councillor Gillias.
Present.
Councillor Lee Hunt. Councillor Keeling.
Present.
Councillor Miss Lawrence.
Present.
Councillor Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Lowe.
Present.
Councillor Mahoney.
Present.
Councillor McQueen.
Present.
Councillor Mistry.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. New.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. O'Rourke.
Present.
Councillor Pacey Day. Councillor Mrs. Parker.
Present.
Councillor Picker.
Present.
Councillor Poole.
Present.
Councillor Ms. Robbins.
Present.
Councillor Mrs. Roberts.
Present.
Councillor Howard Roberts.
Present.
Councillor Jerry Roodhouse.
Present.
Councillor Mrs Roodhouse.
Present.
Councillor Sanderson.
Present.
Councillor Shearer.
Present.
Councillor Mrs Simpson Vince.
Present.
Councillor Srivastava.
Present.
And Councillor Mrs Timms.
Present.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Could you just confirm how many we've got present?
So we should have a total of 41 councillors. We've got 37 in attendance.
37. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cranham is here. He's arrived a little bit late.
Didn't see his raised hands. He's supposed to be asking for access.
So, Mr Mayor, that's 38 members present.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll now move into the formal agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies, Executive Director?
Mr Mayor, there are no apologies this evening.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 2 to approve the minutes.
Mr Mayor, sorry to interrupt. Councillor Lowe has his hand raised.
All right, it's not showing up on my screen for some reason.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like...
You wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to give apologies for Councillor Pacey Day.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Didn't come up.
No problem, Mr Mayor.
Right, item 2 to approve the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 23rd of February 2021. I move that the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 23rd of February 2021 be approved and adopted. Who will second the motion?
I will, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. With those in favour, please show using the raised hand function.
So, Mr Mayor, Councillor Eccleston has joined the meeting, so the vote is unanimous with 39 votes.
So we've got 39 present.
Yes, that's correct, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. That's unanimous then.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
So the motion is carried. Thank you. I'll move on to item 3, declarations of interest. Can I remind members that when they declare interest, they must also declare the general nature of that interest. Now, I'm not sure whether an email has been sent out about one of the items that people might not be sure whether to declare an interest or not. That's the one with the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Centre. As guidance, members of the council or members of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Centre or members of a club that uses the centre may declare a non-pecuniary interest in relation to paragraph 1 of item 1A of part 2 of the agenda, GLL contract provision, and stay in the meeting. Members were employed by the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Centre or by any other organisation that uses the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Centre should declare a pecuniary interest when we get to that item and leave the meeting when paragraph 1 of item 1 of part 2 of the agenda is being discussed and voted on. So are there any declarations under non-pecuniary interest as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I am a member of the Diamond Jubilee Centre, although I haven't been there for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Keating.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 1.4 of the private report of Cabinet. As I work for Coventry City Council, and my employment is based at the location of the new Supermerv.
Thank you. Did you get that, Claire?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Timms.
Yeah, part 2 of the exempt information, because I am the portfolio holder for the environment at the County Council.
Thank you. Councillor New.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just ask for clarification from Democratic Services Officer regarding Corston Grange Primary School? Children do use the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Centre for sports activities. I don't know whether I need to declare pecuniary or non-pecuniary. Could I have clarification, please?
Happy to provide that clarity, Mr. Mayor. That would be deemed as a non-pecuniary interest.
Thank you. I'm claiming non-pecuniary. Thank you.
And I declare a non-pecuniary interest because I'm a member of a Rugby Sport for the Disabled Association that uses the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Centre. I think that's the lot that I can see. We move on then to 3B, which is pecuniary interest as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct. I see no hands raised. So moving on to item 3C, notice under section 106, Local Government Finance Act 1992, non-payment of community charge or council tax. Again, I see no hands raised, so I assume there are none. Thank you. Item 4 of the agenda is Mayor's announcements. I've got 4 this evening. The first one, members have been informed of the sad news that past Mayor and former Councillor Evelyn Humphreys passed away earlier this month. Evelyn was Mayor of Rugby for the 1989-90 municipal year, was a councillor for the former number 14 and Earl Craven ward from 1975 to 1995. I would ask all members and officers present to join me in a few moments' silence in memory of Evelyn. Thank you. 4B, it's a happier occasion. Councillor James Shearer has recently been conferred with the honour of 2 honorary doctorate degrees. The first is from the Foreman Christian College in Lahore, Pakistan, in recognition of his services to Pakistan. The second is from Coventry University in recognition of his significant contribution to intercultural and interfaith harmony and multicultural education. Councillor Shearer, on behalf of the Council, I congratulate you heartily on both of these accolades, which recognise your commitment of the work you have done and continue to do, as well as the positive impact this has had on people's lives, both at a local and international level. Now, I understand that Councillor O'Rourke has expressed an interest in speaking at this point. If anyone else wishes to speak, would you please use the raise hand function and I will call you in order following Councillor O'Rourke. Councillor O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words. Mr. Mayor, I would like to take this opportunity to put on public record how very proud we all are of Councillor James Shearer, who, has, you've already said and acknowledged, has been awarded 2 honorary doctorate degrees, one from Lahore and one from Coventry University. James has always been a great advocate for human rights and diversity and inclusion at a local level, at a national level and international level. I've known James now for near on 37 years, and all that time he's always given so much of himself in terms of pursuing the cause of equality and inclusion. He's always had a very sort of calming approach and a level head when dealing with some difficult issues that can be quite thorny at times. And we really do value the fact that we have such a great representative in our group. It's also been acknowledged that he was actually the first Pakistani mayor in the UK. And as I've already said, it is truly a great honour and one that he really deserves. So congratulations, Councillor Dr. James Shearer. We're all very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roke. Councillor Garcia's hand raised.
Hi, thank you. I would just really like to echo what Maggie has said. Jim, during all my time as a councillor, has been an absolute support and tower of strength. And I think his diplomatic and pragmatic way of dealing with situations in meetings is something that we could all learn from. I think he's done a wonderful job for Rugby with diversity. He's been on the Equality and Diversity Committee for Rugby Borough Council for some years, and I think a lot of his hard work is how far we've got as a council today in that section. And yes, I'd like to wholeheartedly congratulate him.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Shearer, would you wish?
Mr. Mayor, with your permission, I would like to say a big thank you to all my colleagues and people of Rugby and who have given me the opportunity to work with them and serve them internationally, nationally and locally. I think it is a privilege for me to be part of a society who cares and who helped me to adjust and flourish. And I will owe everything to each one of this from this borough and beyond. And I'm grateful for the opportunity which I was given to me. I was born in Pakistan, came here, so most of my life was spent here in this country. But both countries have been a credit to me and my whatever I did. And I simply, humbly, I'm saying that big thank you to people of Rugby and to my colleagues in the council. And it's a wonderful council where I never thought that any party, any political party fallen out with each other so badly as you could see in other part of the country. We are very special and special in every sense of the word. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for on behalf of the borough. I'm grateful.
Thank you, Councillor Shearer. On a personal note, I'd like to add something that actually links Councillor Shearer and Councillor Humphrey's terms of office as mayors. Because in January 1989, Councillor Shearer may remember he was kind enough to accept an invitation to come to Rokeby First School as mayor to inaugurate our very first bulk recycling collection of newspapers and cans. By early the following year, our recycling initiative had grown and we had set up recycling facilities at Sainsbury's car park. And it was in April that year that Councillor Evelyn Humphreys came along to inaugurate the new recycling centres. So there they are. They are both supporting improvements to the environment. I don't think there's anyone else with a hand up to speak, so I'll carry on to the next item. And this is information provided by Matthew Deeves, which I'm very grateful for. The COVID update this week is the number of COVID-19 cases in the over 60s in Rugby has dropped to just 2 cases in the last week of confirmed data. This is hugely encouraging news and an indication that the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines are safe, effective and making a difference in our borough. As businesses prepare to reopen in line with the government's roadmap, we can have hope that life may return to something like normal soon. Nevertheless, we must remain disciplined and continue to follow the rules so that this encouraging trend can continue. Let's continue with hands, face, space, and look forward to a brighter future soon. The last item is about the census. The census took place this Sunday, the 21st of March. The pandemic has highlighted just how important it is that health services and local authorities have up-to-date, high-quality data about their communities. By completing their census forms, all of Rugby's residents can help make sure that local public services are well-funded and focused on the communities that we serve. Accurate data means that we are better able to work with residents to shape our communities and do what's right for Rugby. So please all fill in your census forms. We move on to item 5 of the agenda, questions pursuant to Order 10. Are there any questions, Executive Director?
There are no questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We move on then to item 6A, to receive the report of Cabinet dated the 1st of March 2021. In submitting the report of Cabinet, I shall call the paragraph numbers and headings. If members wish to raise questions or to comment, will they please indicate they wish to do so when I call the item. The report of Cabinet, 1st of March 2021. Councillor Roberts, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 1 of the report of Cabinet of the 1st of March 2021?
Blank space.
Are you there, Councillor Roberts?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lowe has his hand raised.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. These hands aren't showing up on my screen. Just sorry, Councillor Lowe.
That is no problem, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Roberts informed me early this evening he was having some connection issues, and it would appear those connection issues have got the better of him. So in his absence, I'm happy to move the item with your permission.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's fine. Right, paragraph 1, adoption of pollinator-friendly policy. Councillor Lowe, would you like to speak on this now?
Not at this stage, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move the report as written.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? Councillor Sanderson, you have your hand up. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I welcome the report, the pollinator report? I think it's a good document, long overdue, and I think it will enable us to move forward with this. Would have like to see a bit more about pocket parks, which are slightly overshadowed in the report, but disappointed that Cabinet withdrew the tree report. Just to remind Cabinet members, trees have blossom, apple blossom, cherry blossom, hawthorn, blackthorn, which are very important to the springtime pollinators like solitary bees. So I hope that they do move that report forward, and then we have 2 joined up pieces of policy.
Thank you, Councillor Sanderson. I don't see any other hands up to speak. So, Councillor Lowe, do you wish to say anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Sanderson for his uncharacteristically warm comments this evening. As far as the tree policy is concerned, I would just like to make it clear that we didn't remove the tree policy. We simply deferred it to the next cabinet meeting, just as there needed to be a further investigation in terms of what consultation had taken place. So that will still be moving ahead, I'm very pleased to say.
Thank you very much. In that case, I now submit for confirmation and adoption the whole of the report. Those in favour, please show using the raised hand function.
That's 38 for, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, could you put your hands down now, please? With those against, please show.
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
All right, in that case, are there any abstentions?
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And the motion is carried. Now move on to item 7. Notices of notices of motion pursuant to Standing Order 11. In accordance with the Council's constitution, no motions or notices have been received for consideration. So we move on to item 8. Correspondence. Is there any correspondence, Executive Director?
There is none, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Executive Director. Item 9 of the agenda, Common Seal. I move that the Common Seal be affixed to the various orders, deed and documents referred to in item 6 of the agenda paper. Who will second the motion?
I will, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. With those in favour, please show using the raised hand function.
That's 37, Mr. Mayor.
37. All right, please lower your hands. With those against, please show using the raise hand function. Hang on, I haven't put my hand down. All right.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, there's 2 hands still raised.
All right, I've taken mine down now, so there's must be another one, is there?
That's all clear now, Mr. Mayor. There's no hands raised.
I will go back then. With those against, please show using the raise hand function.
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any abstentions?
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. In that case, the motion is carried. We move on to item 10. Motion to exclude the public under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972. Under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of information defined in paragraph 3 of Schedule 12A of the Act. I so move. Who will second the motion?
I will, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, just to say that Councillor O'Rourke has her hand up.
Yes, Councillor O'Rourke. Councillor O'Rourke, do you wish to say something?
You're on mute, Councillor O'Rourke.
Please, can I call for a recorded vote, Mr. Mayor, please?
On which? On the one we've just done?
I've had my hand up.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I've had my hand up and I'm calling for a recorded vote on the item that you just put forward. Yeah.
Mr.
Which
Mayor,
is
just a point.
The item to exclude the public. I'm sorry, these hands aren't showing up on my screen tonight. I'll have to rely on the officers to give me a hand with that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarity. In order for a recorded vote to take place, 3 members are required to request such a recorded vote. I did see Councillor Mahoney's hand also raised, and there is also Councillor Mystery's hand also raised. So I assume they are in favour of this recorded vote taking place.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I require a recorded vote, please, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we're okay to go back to item 10 then?
Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarity again. It's just to say that the vote can take place now, but it will need to take place under a recorded vote.
Yeah, the motion to exclude the public under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972.
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So we've got the names of the people required, of 3 people.
On a point of order, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you've got problems with your hands.
Yeah, I have, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
And I just wanted to, on a point of order, ask for clarification from the legal that if this motion failed, that would mean all the reports in private and confidential would have to come into the open.
Do we have a legal opinion on this, please?
Yes, of course, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that is correct. So if members are minded, if there is a particular report which they wish to vote individually upon, that can also take place, or they can take a vote in its entirety in terms of those private reports.
Can I interject? Sorry, Mr. Mayor, but I don't think that is the purpose of us asking for a recorded vote. We're just asking for a recorded vote on the motion to exclude the public. We've not said anything else about bringing anything into the public domain. It's just purely on this vote, a recorded vote on who's voted to exempt the public on this item.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Mystery has his hand raised and so does Councillor Lowe.
Councillor Mystery.
Just, I echo what Councillor Mahoney has said, just to say, you know, we're not looking at the item individually, just on the motion to exclude the public, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must confess to being slightly perplexed by why there is a request for recorded vote on this matter. I would like clarification from legal, if possible, as to whether the passing of this, the rejection of the motion, I should say, to exclude the public, will that mean that the reports have to be shared in the public domain and therefore compromise the private negotiations of Rugby Borough Council, which, as members will be aware, is the reason that those reports are on bleep?
Yes, happy to come in, Mr. Mayor, with your permission.
Thank you.
So the decision to have these particular items within the private items is a decision taken as per the Access to Information Standing Orders by the Executive Director, and that is based upon the legal basis as set out within Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, i.e. the confidential and commercial negotiations in particular of those in respect of those reports. So that particular principle still stands. This is a motion to exclude the public. So my suggestion would be that the vote is taken in the first instance, it is taken as a recorded vote, and then thereafter further clarity can be provided.
Okay. Councillor Mahoney, you've still got your hand up. Is it you want to speak further, or is it?
Yeah, just want to further clarify. I mean, I think everybody's jumping ahead here. It's a procedural thing. We've asked for a recorded vote. We can ask for it on any vote. People are prejudging the outcome of that vote. That vote would have took place anyway, whether we recorded it or not. All we're doing is asking for it to be recorded. Please don't prejudge what we're trying to do.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, if we proceed to take a recorded vote now on the motion to exclude the public.
Right. Thank you for the help. So you're all clear what we're voting on right now. It's whether we, under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of information defined in paragraph 3 of Schedule 2A of the Act. So I need to move that again. Is that right? I so move.
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor.
And then it'll need a seconder. Who will second the motion?
Nothing to hear.
Councillor Deepa Roberts, are you on the line?
I will second it.
Thank you. Are those in favour? Oh no, sorry, we're taking a recorded vote on this. So, Claire, it's over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if members can indicate if they're voting for, against or abstaining on the motion. Councillor Mrs Alanak.
For.
Councillor Mrs Abarrow.
For.
Councillor Byrne.
For.
Councillor Brader.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Bragg.
For.
Councillor Mrs Brown.
Against.
Councillor Kieran Brown.
Against.
Councillor Butlin.
For.
Councillor Cade.
For.
Councillor Mrs Crane.
For.
Councillor Cranham.
For.
Councillor Douglas.
For.
Councillor Miss Dumbleton.
For.
Councillor Eccleston.
For.
Councillor Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Garcia.
For.
Councillor Gillias.
For.
Councillor Keeling.
For.
Councillor Miss Lawrence.
For.
Councillor Lewis.
For.
Councillor Lowe.
For.
Councillor Mahoney.
Against.
Councillor McQueen.
For.
Councillor Mistry.
Against.
Councillor Mrs New.
Abstain.
Councillor Mrs O'Rourke.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Parker.
For.
Councillor Picker.
For.
Councillor Poole.
For.
Councillor Ms Robbins.
For.
Councillor Mrs Roberts.
For.
Councillor Howard Roberts.
For.
Councillor Jerry Roodhouse.
For.
Councillor Mrs Roodhouse.
For.
Councillor Sanderson.
For.
Councillor Shearer.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Simpson Vince.
For.
Councillor Srivastava.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Timms.
For.
I'll just add those up, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
So that's 29 for the motion, 9 against and 1 abstention, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. I can confirm that. Thank you very much. In which case the motion is carried. And that concludes the public part of the meeting. IT, would you please stop the live stream and let me know when it's done. Thank you very much.